Is today the day that we reach 50 on the puzzle streak? Let's find out. We can start with a check, pushing him out this way. And then there's a checkmate waiting to occur, so I'm happy to go ahead with that, and we've got one on the board already. There's a check right here that cuts all these options off, while the pawn also cuts these options off. I believe that's just a mate in one. We've got two. Let's continue this. This looks like a nice fork has just landed on the board. We can double back and win a full piece. At that point, we're a full piece up, and that should be an easy victory. 3, and let's keep going. There's a nice check fork here, winning a rook. Pretty hard to go past that as a nice idea. If we take the full rook, if he takes back, we even push this pawn, and things are going to go from bad to worse for white. All right, now here we've got a check. Does force the capture by the rook, because otherwise, if you just block with the bishop, we take a full rook. There's no sense in pushing this forward because we simply take. Queen's guarding all that. So we can say that after take, this is forced. Then after check, this is forced, and then that's going to be mate. So 1, 2, and 3. Here we go again. We've got a check here. This check forces him here by, practical sense, because if he comes this way, then we jump away with a double check to some place or other. In fact, I'd say we jump back here with the check, winning the rook. So after check, he is forced here, and then we can actually take this rook regardless, can't we? Can't draw arrows, but check he moves. We take a rook. We're hitting a bishop. We're blocking this pawn's progress. Everything there, I think, looks great. Why not win a rook if we can with a tempo on a bishop? We're up to 6. Let's keep going. This check is a nice one. It's not quite everything we need, because after he takes, the shame is we can't take the queen. It's defended by the king. But if we start with this check, again, he can't take the queen because it's a double. He can't take the queen because he's checked. That's the first thing to note. He also can't take the knight because the queen is pinned. So if we do this check, he has to move the king. Then we can take the queen with check. He takes the queen, obviously. We then take the rook. And in the resulting endgame, we have a knight versus a knight, a bishop versus a bishop, a rook versus a rook, and a rook versus a knight. It looks like we got maybe a couple extra pawns there too. So it should definitely be winning to do check, etc. The only thing I might otherwise check is what if we take this knight, but then he takes our knight. Don't think that's really anywhere near as good. So check, take. We're up to 7. Here we need to continue on the path. The first thing that comes to mind is what if we take here with check? Of course, he's going to have to take there. But then we have this check, which is mate. So taking a rook's not a bad way to start. Finishing a mate's not a bad way to continue. This is a pinned bishop. It can't move this way. It could move this way, but we can actually think about taking. If we take, he has to take with this, at which point we can take like this. But what if we start like this? Check. He has to take like this, and then that's just simply a mate. So 1 and 2, mate. We're up to 9. Keeping this going. This looks like we've got it attacked enough times, but actually it is defended twice. Problem is, once this defender moves, this will be hanging. So we can take, and when he takes back, we can take this. He can then continue here attacking our rook, but there's a few things we can do in that scenario. One is we can bring our rook up here and just have a lot of pressure on this rank. We could also do this, attack the bishop. When the bishop moves back, we can take this up here. So this is looking really good. I'll take and then take here, and we'll deal with the next problem after that. Okay, here we've got a check. That would force him back out this way since there's nothing he can do otherwise to block the check. And once he comes here, this bishop looks like it's going to fall with check. So that's a bishop for free as far as I can tell. And once that check occurs, he either comes back here or here, and we just move the queen back. So it's a free bishop. All right, we're up to the 11th puzzle now. Looks like we can take a rook, and if he takes back, we can take a bishop. And then we're just going to be... Are we going to be better there, though? That's the question. Maybe, I don't think we're better off doing anything else. So let's win the bishop. We're going to win this pawn. We'll have a bunch of connected pawns. Things look really good. Here there's a nice looking check, but he just comes here. And then there's this check, which is a nice fork. So actually after check, this is not an option, which means this is the only option. But then there's this, which is a checkmate. So we're either winning a queen or we're mating. So we win the queen instead. It's pretty good. Let's move on. We're white here. We're trying to find a way here. This looks really nice. A check that also picks up a rook. He really can't stop that, so we'll just go for that. Okay, now in this case, we obviously don't just want to have an even trade here, but what we can do is distract the king by giving a check. He either moves the king out of the way or takes our rook, in which case we take a queen, thereby winning a lot of material. All right, in this scenario, we have a queen down here that we may be able to attack at some point. It looks like it's got plenty of escape squares, however. So we've also got this check. So let's go check. That would force him here. Then we can win the rook, which is generally advisable. We'd be winning a rook with a lot of tempo against this bishop. The bishop can move, but nowhere safe. So let's win a rook and then we'll win the bishop after it. That's very good for us. All right, in this scenario, our queen is under attack. We could think about moves like check, but he simply takes. And where's the follow-up? I don't see it. So what else can we possibly do here? Well, we also notice that we're attacking his queen. So after check and he takes, the follow-up is simply to take the queen. Then we're going to have 2 rooks versus 1. We're going to be winning in this position. Okay, so he's attacking the rook. That is fair. But this king looks very open. We've got 1 bishop here. We can put another one here. That's going to force the king to this 1 remaining square. At that 1 remaining square, we are going to be able to, at the very least, capture this piece by going check, and when he moves, just capture. Or we could consider moves like this check, but I think after this, we don't actually have any follow-up there. So we're probably better off playing check and just purely winning this piece. All right, now this rook looks a little bit vulnerable. In fact, if we bring our king up, where does this rook go that's safe? None of these squares are available, so this just wins a rook. We could consider taking this pawn first though, because if we do this, we are allowing him to push this pawn forward. Our king would be outside the square of this pawn. So if we take this, he pushes further. Yeah, we can bring our rook back in time. But do we just want to start like this first? If we do start like this, he can take this pawn. Then when we come here, his rook can escape. So I think considering we've calculated our rook will get back on time to stop this pawn, we should go this way, and it turned out to be correct. Here, I'm really liking the look of taking this because we're actually threatening checkmate after that, which means after we take, he can't take us. He has to do something else, and once he does something else, we can take the pawn. We will have won a bishop and a pawn. So that's very nice. And we proceed. We can take this rook, forcing his knight out of the picture. But I just don't really see the follow-up here. We could also play something like this, say, take the rook we're going to take back here, and then threaten to get another queen. But with his knight here protecting and his queen able to come back, I don't really like that as an option. We could possibly take the knight, though. When he takes back, we can move the bishop away, checking the king, and also attacking the queen, which means we're going to end up winning this full knight, as well as a queen trade to simplify the position. Here we're 20 moves in. This just looks like a beautiful fork. We're landing directly on the knight, the rook and the queen. One thing to consider though is he's going to take, we take back, and then he moves the queen, and our fork has disappeared and turned into an attack against our knight. Whereas if we start by taking, he has to take back, otherwise we've won a full rook. Then we can land this, and he no longer has the option of taking here with check. Sure, he can bring his rook down here with check, but he's not taking anything. So we would just win another rook there. So let's go for the rook trade, then we land the fork, moves the queen, but in so doing, we win the exchange. All right, let's continue on. We've got this beautiful passed pawn. Passed pawns must be pushed. So this comes to mind immediately, just playing d3, looking for d2. That certainly looks nice, but it's not the only option. And in fact, there is another nice option here, which is bishop e4, attacking the queen. We're defending ourselves. The rook defends the bishop. And at the same time as we attack the queen, and the queen we ask to move off this diagonal, let's say, for example, it moves here, takes the pawn. well, then we have this checkmate here with the bishop and the queen combining. So I think actually what he would have to do is give the queen up for the bishop, and in that resulting position, we are a lot better. So let's continue on. He's just taken a bishop and actually has more material than us at the moment as a result. What's he missed? Must be something. Now I'm looking at this check to start with. Because the king can't move, he has to block with the queen. This move makes no sense because we simply take the queen and it's checkmate. So after this check, he has to come here. That's forced. The question is, what do we do in the resulting position? And I suppose one thing we could do is play check. He takes back, then we take this with check, and we've regathered some material. Once he moves the king, we can also take this pawn. In that resulting position, yes, we both have two rooks, but we just have a lot more pawns. We have 3 connected pawns here versus just, these two are sort of holding each other off in a certain sense, and these two are holding each other off. So with our 3 connected pawns, that's definitely a winning position. Check, take, check, and then taking this pawn. We're winning. I'm happy to win. Let's do it. And we're up to 23. Here we've got this check, but he would take us with the bishop. So we could also just take this pawn, attacking this rook, making it move, but our queen there looks a little bit lonely. I'd love to be able to take this bishop, but we can't because we're pinned to the king. We could consider therefore moving the king away. Moving the king away is a possible idea. Let's say he takes this, we take this, he takes, we take. I think in the resulting position we're better because we have more. Actually, we're not necessarily better. It's pretty even there as far as I can tell in broad strokes, material-wise. I don't see any particular attack. So what else can we do? How about we take the queen? When he takes back, then that bishop is ours. And in that resulting position, yes, we have a lot of extra pieces. So we can do that. In this position, obviously we can take the queen, but he takes back. And have we gained much there? I'm not too sure. We could also move our queen away with check, uncovering this attack on the queen. So the queen's unable to swing into the defense. What he could do is attack our queen this way, but then we take this queen with check, and when he captures back, we move our queen back to safety somewhere, and in so doing, we've won a lot of material. In this, yeah, we'll take that anyway, and we're moving on. We're halfway there. We're halfway to 50. We're doing pretty well so far. He's attacking us here. We could just snatch him off the board if we want, and what would happen after that is we could land a beautiful check fork against the queen. Hey, that looks really good. Let's go for it. All right, we're up to 26. This is a nice looking end game position where our king is a little bit more active than his. We've come up to 4 squares. He's only come up 3. Our pawns are very active as well. We've got pawns here to hold him off, and we've got pawns here. Do we have an opportunity to make something good happen? Let's have a look at what happens if we take this pawn. Now, if he pushes forward or does nothing with this pawn, then obviously we can push forward and get a queen. So really what he needs to do is take back in that position. But once he does take back, there's no real way for us to progress. This pawn's held off by this one. This pawn's held off by this one. But what if we play something like this? If we play this and he takes here, we take here, we're getting a queen on the next move. If we do this and he takes here, then we take here. And again, we're going to get a queen because this king is outside the square of the pawn. So this move looks really nice. What does he actually do in response? If he pushes this pawn down, well, then we take here and we're still going to get a queen. So I don't think he really has any options after this. If he tries to bring his king in, we come here anyway, taking, and we're still going to get a queen. So that has to be the move. We're going to take here and get a queen. All right, let's move on. We're doing decently. We look at this move for a moment, but after he takes, the best we can do is try and pin him. But since he has this available, yes, we have a check, but he brings the rook back again. So I don't see that really working out for us. We may need to come up with something a little bit better. Now, something we might have is this, which attacks the queen. And I wonder where that queen actually goes, because all these squares are actually defended by our king. This pawn is defended by this one. This pawn is defended by this one. So I don't think the queen has anywhere to go after this. He could try and block by doing something like this, thereby protecting the queen at least momentarily. But that allows our queen to come up with check, forcing the king into the corner. And this is looking exceptionally dangerous for him. How then do we finish this job? Maybe we go check. He takes, we go check. He moves back. That's probably not it, but this is looking like a very promising idea. Maybe we even do it with the bishop check. Still forces him here. And how do we then proceed? Maybe after this check, he comes here. Maybe we take this pawn. Because in taking that pawn, we're threatening to go check. I really, really like that a lot. Oh, so he just takes the bishop. We'll take the queen back. Thank you. Here we can immediately look to take this. But do we have something better? Like, can we distract the king away with a check? Check, he takes, check again. And this king has to move. Could move. No, can't move there because we're guarding that. So really he has to move and take this, at which point he gives up the queen. I think that's pretty obvious. So we'll take that. We're up to 29. Let's keep going here. This king looks pretty open. Our king also looks open. We've got lots of heavy pieces around, ready and willing to defend. He's also got some heavy pieces, to be fair, but let's calculate some concrete variations. Let's start with this rook h2 checking move. It's a nice move. He can't really block with the rook we simply take. Can't block with the queen because we simply take as well. So after this, he's going to have to move. Question is, what can we do then in our follow-up? One thing we could potentially do is bring the other rook across here. Then if he takes, we take back. It's a check. He moves. And then we take, he takes, we take. I'm just not seeing anything amazing there. Maybe what we'd like to do is bring our queen in here, preparing to get our queen here. Check, he moves here. Then we can take this with a winning a full piece. So after this, let's say he takes the rook. Well, then we take back with this rook. If he takes this rook, we take back again. Have we gained a lot there? Don't think so. Don't think so. So a bit of a tricky situation here that I haven't yet worked out. How do we proceed? Is there something like this? I don't think so. He simply takes the rook or takes this rook. Probably this one. So again, let's look at this check. It does force him here. But do we have a sensible follow-up in that position? A little bit stuck for an idea here. Is there something crazy like taking here? When he takes back, we push through? I don't think so. I don't think so. We could take this. Ah, that looks nice. If we take the rook and he takes back, then we play rook h2 check. And we're also unveiling an attack. So I very much just like taking the rook and then giving a check, and then we're going to win this with a check. That was the way forward. This is immediately offering a trade if we want it, but we could also bring our bishop up and skewer that queen with this queen-bishop battery. That queen, basically, it can move down here with the tempo on our rook. We can take this. He takes our rook. Well, then I don't see that we've really gained. I really see that we've gained a lot there. We could do something like this, take, and then we've got a fork against two pieces. So that looks pretty nice, in fact. Take, and then this. Can he move these pieces away with check? Not effectively, because we have all these checking squares covered by pawns. So it looks like here we're going to win, at the very least, a knight for a pawn. And I'm happy with that. So let's do it. We're up to 31. Okay, so this appears to be pinned at the moment. If we move, he's going to win our rook, our queen. But can we maybe change things here? What if we attack his queen? He takes this directly. We take the queen here. At that point in time, he's taken a bishop, but we've taken a queen. If he then takes our queen, we take a rook. We're ending up an exchange there. So the question is, do we want to do it this way or do we want to do it this way? I think if we do it this way, it leaves his queen with less options. Because if we do this, his queen at the very least can just, can come here and take a pawn. And hey, we've given up a pawn. Sure, we can take this pawn too. But if we do this way, he doesn't have that option. He doesn't have the option of retreating along this file. He could sack the queen for a rook, but that's got to be great for us as well. And like we say, if he takes the bishop, we take the queen. If he takes queen, we take a rook. And on some, we've both traded queens, but then we've traded this for this, which is good for us. We end up with a rook and a rook versus a rook and a knight. I really like this. He takes this rook instead. Fine, we'll take the queen, and we're doing really well. We're up to the 32nd puzzle here. Now, we can immediately think of taking this. Because if he takes back, we can take this. Our king is within the square of this pawn. So it's very, very likely that we'll win this pawn. We're also winning this pawn. So we get to go 1, 1, 2. At that point, he's got 3 pawns. We've got 4. I guess he's got 4 pawns, but it looks very much like we're going to capture this one. He can try and protect it. He can try to protect it, but we can just jump the knight back and put more pressure on it, eventually winning it. And once we win it, we will have this extra pawn. We'll have an active king. That's a winning position as far as I can tell. So we get active. Unless there's something better here, because I thought I didn't so I got to just make sure I'm doing this right. We could give a check, but he comes here. I don't see what we gain by doing that. I think we probably are better just coming after this pawn immediately. If he pushes, we take it. We're still better. If he tries to defend it, well, then we come here, as mentioned earlier, and we're going to win it regardless. Okay, we're up to the 33rd puzzle now. Making progress. We've been checked. We don't want to take necessarily, because that would allow him to capture back. But it's worth considering, because after he captures back, we can also take here. If we take this and he captures here first, well, then we have to move out the way. And that's actually a pretty tricky looking scenario. So I think what we maybe need to do is take with the bishop to protect this rook, which would otherwise fall with check. Even though taking with the bishop allows him to take this rook, it's not with check, which means we can take here with check and then take the rook after. So I think this will have to be the move. He takes this rook. We're going to take here with check. Oh no, we're checked. So, okay, we need to take it back. But then this is defended, so we're all good. So far, so good. Let's continue on. We're 34 puzzles in. There's a nice looking check here, which just wins a knight very, very cleanly. After the check, he can't move anywhere here. So he would have to come here. And at that point in time, do we have anything better than simply taking the knight? Not sure. Let's have a quick look. So after this and he comes here, is there much point in considering moves like this? I don't think so. He's got lots of defensive resources. I think we're better off just taking the knight. But we better be careful though, because even after we take the knight, he's got 2 rooks and a queen versus what we'll have is a rook and a knight and a queen. So we do need to make sure we're doing this correctly. Maybe check. He comes here. Is there any sense in coming back, giving a check? No, because he simply takes us. Check, he comes here. Do we bring a knight up here? Which looks like it's a very scary thing, but with his rook there, he's always got everything under control by the sounds of things. How about this check? This check might be better, blocking this diagonal from him. Because here he escapes up the diagonal. How about we take that diagonal away? Giving this check, that kind of forces him here or here. Now, if here we, at the very least, can continue the attack with check. So he's going to be forced here eventually. So let's assume that he comes here to start with. At that point, we've got this check. And that's actually more than just a check. That's a mate. So this is definitely looking like the best position for us to be in. This just double checking is in fact checkmate. No time to take the knight because he's mated. Now we're in another endgame position, 35th puzzle. We've got 3 pawns versus 4. You would suspect, I would be very inclined to think that this is losing for us on that basis. This is an outside passed pawn. This is a big pawn majority. How can we be winning in this scenario? Maybe we just win by playing a5. And the point of a5 is we're preparing to play b4. If he takes, then we rush our own pawn up. And the thing is, these pawns, they're close to becoming queens, and his king would have to spend time going over to save them, whereas our king is close to the promotion square. That's what I'm trying to say. Our king is close to this one's potential promotion square. This king is far from these promotion squares. So we may have time to go a5. Let's say something like, this. Okay, we've already played a5. Then we play b4. And if he takes, we can go a4. There's no way the king can get over. And whatever he does, we do, we step into the square. So we're preventing. If he starts pushing this one, yeah, this is looking good. He moves the king out, so he needs to do that. If we do this now, he takes, we do this. Our pawn is safe. It's going to make it there in time. So this, he steps here and he's inside the square. We don't want to do that. We want to go like this and then this, staying outside the square of his king. Our king was inside the square of his pawns. So that was a nice puzzle. Here we've got a check available. That does force him to basically one of these few squares here. Now, how we follow up from there, I'm not sure, but I do see a better move. What if we take the queen? He has to take back with the bishop. Then we can play this pawn forward, unveiling a check. And when the king moves, we win the bishop as well. So that looks brutal. 37. We've got a check here. We've got a check here. Both of them have potentially, upsides. But I like this because the queen stays here, preventing the king from escaping out this way. As opposed to if we do this, we're allowing the king some scope. So if we do this, he's still cut off. He has to come here. Sure, he could give up the rook, but there's no point in doing that. So this actually forces this move by force. Then we just need the follow-up. And that's slightly difficult to see, but I think this makes sense at that point, because the only real moves he can do is he can block, we take, he can block again, we take, and that is going to be mate very quickly. 38 puzzles in, let's keep it flowing. This is pinned, so that's a vulnerable bishop. We're not having any way to actually attack the bishop at the moment, unfortunately, but we may in future. So let's consider moves. What about this, putting pressure on the knight? If he takes, we take, he takes. I don't see that going anywhere particularly. We could start by taking this knight. Let's say he takes back with this knight. I don't really see anything amazing there either. So, okay, we could try a check, but he simply takes. Even if we push the pawn forward, he jumps back. And more to the point, after this, he can take with the king. And he should just be completely fine there. What about this, though? What if we just attack the queen? Because where's the queen going, given that all these squares are unsafe? This would be unsafe. The only square available would be this one. So after this, he would be forced here. Then we can actually drop the bishop back. And at that point, all of the squares that the queen has access to are actually not safe at all. So as far as I can tell, this is looking like we're going to trap the queen. He might have to play something like this to protect the queen. Now, after he plays that, then perhaps we can take this. He has to take like that. Then, this is looking very, very suspicious for him. I can't quite see the victory yet after he blocks like so. Take, he takes. Maybe this. But he can then bring the queen out this way too. So this almost works. I think if he were to come here, basically would work. Still wouldn't trap the queen per se, but would win material, except after this, I don't completely see how we're to proceed. Maybe there we can play this move, putting lots of pressure on this knight, attacking it twice. Very hard for him to defend it. Meanwhile, if he takes, we take back with this rook. But he can take with the bishop. If not, we would have a rook here and a rook here, both attacking a knight. That would be pinned to his queen. So that would be nice, but he takes with the bishop. We can take back again. No, we can't. We've already used that. So this. He takes. We take. He takes. I don't see the follow-up. So very, very interesting. Maybe we start like this. So the queen might even be able to participate later on. If we start like this, and he takes with this, well then, I guess there's this move, but he's able to move to safety here as far as I can tell. Maybe this. Doesn't seem to work because he's got that square defended lots of times. So this is a very tricky one. I'm going to need to think longer and harder about this. how we make progress. Now, the good thing is in this position, he can't castle long because we're preventing that. Can't castle across a check. If he wants to, he could castle short. If he castles short, he has a rook here. But if he does castle short, then I think this makes a lot of sense because then this is going to win material. And winning material is good. And the problem is for him after castles and we do this, he can't do this anymore because he would lose this with the tempo on the rook. So he can't castle. So I wonder if there's something productive we can do almost as a waiting move and just say, what is he going to do? If he does this, we take, he takes, we take this or this. Like, so he can't do this. I mean, it's pinned anyway. If he does something like this, well, you would suspect maybe we can bring the queen down. That might even be a good move too, just putting extra pressure on this, guy immediately. If he does this, we can always bring the queen back. Or we can take. That would be really nice. If he moves this rook away, this knight away, then that's with the tempo on our queen. Then, it's very tricky. It's very, very tricky. What if we play f4, threatening f5? Not a big threat, probably. He just simply takes. Interesting moment. Is there something after this? There's something that we can throw in immediately here. Take, he takes. There is then this check. This check forces him here so he doesn't lose this. He can't castle then, so that's really nice. I think that's, positionally pretty nice. Go here, 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 here. There is also this check from here then. But I think I prefer doing it from here so we check him and also attack the pawn at the same time, forcing him practically, I think, back here. And then we can swing the rook back this way. Look, I can't see anything better than this, but on the 38th puzzle, I don't want to get it wrong now. Here, if he does this, we take back, we're doing perfectly well there. This, if he takes this, is there any danger there? No, we just take this, he takes back, we're doing great. So I think here, if he takes, we're doing fine. So I do think that after this, even after this, we just simply take with the rook. We're doing very, very nicely. So I think that after this, he has to play this. And surely he's not just going to give us this for free. He's going to take back. And I also see another thing. After this and this, we can play b4. I don't know why it took me so long to think about that. When you have a pinned piece, you need to try and think of how you can increase the pressure on the pinned piece. If you think of how to increase pressure on the knight that's there, well, b4 should come to mind immediately. So that might even be it. I think this is going to be the way to go. That is the best move. He comes here, we're going to drop the bishop. He takes, we take back, and we're doing well. All right, we got there in the end. We're on the 39th puzzle now. We're looking for the best move for white. We've got two pawns. They're a long way away from becoming queens. And his king's very active. Looks like he's just going to win them both. And if he wins them both, obviously we can't possibly win. Question is, can he win them both? Let's see. I mean, I think we should probably start by taking this pawn because he can't take this pawn. It's defended by this one, which means what he really needs is to come over and take this pawn first. But if we take this, he takes a step over. We can then play this and say, well, you have to take this. So he can take it, but then we can push forward. And though he can push forward, we also push forward. He pushes, we push. He pushes, we push. We become a queen first. He gets a queen. Then how do we finish the job? Is it even possible? We could give a check, but I'm not so sure. Maybe what we want to do is this, this, this. And then when he takes this, well, then we just push this up. Yeah, that's pretty simple. And if this and he pushes, well, then we simply take. We're already outside the square of his king there. So this is actually very easy for us. Take. We're up to 40. We're approaching the goal. We are approaching the goal here. Now, here's a check. He has to take. We take the rook. We've got this extra pawn. I think there we have to be winning. Not even going to calculate that. We just keep the opposition here. And we're good. We're up to 41. Here's a check. Is there a way to continue on? There, we've got some check, but he moves here. If he does move onto this diagonal, or sorry, file, we have this move, which is nice, pinning the queen. That's the best he'll be able to do. Giving a rook and a knight. But, you know, I think that's got to be pretty nice for us. We could start like this, but that gives him more options, whereas this is a check. You got to deal with the check. If you don't want to come here and allow for this, you can't come here or here. That means this would be the only other option. But if you do choose this as your only other option, well, then you get forked even worse. So really after check, you have to come here or here. And regardless of which one of those you choose, I've got this move to follow up. You can take here, I can take here. Life is very, very good. Or this, you can give the queen up immediately for a rook. But then I take here. And I think that's got to be good. Now, in this case, yeah, like I said, we'll do this. We're up to 42. Let's continue on. We're doing nicely here. We're in a position here where our king is very open. Our king looks a lot more vulnerable than his. His looks pretty nice. You know, whereas ours looks very open and he's got a queen, rook, knight all gathered around. Very, very dangerous looking position. But let's have a look at what we have available. We have this check. This check is nice because we then just double back and we win a full rook defended by our knight. So you can tell that's already a better move than this, because if we do this, we simply win an exchange, but we lose tempo. He wins back with, you know, we have to move. Whereas if we do this, we just win the full rook. And we have a tempo, maybe we get trades, and in those trades we're better because we end up with a lot more material. In fact, so much material, I think this is just a winning idea on its own. Check, what's he going to do? He could come back, but we simply take. After check, he could block, doesn't matter, we do this, he can move we can't move the king yet, so I think this is just winning. Because we have so much more material there. Let's go on. 43, we're approaching the target. This looks like a nice idea, but I'm not going to rush into anything at this point. It's nice because we're obviously forking the queen and the bishop. But why do I not want to rush? What else could he possibly do? There's no checks available. He could try taking here. Then if I take like this check, I take, he takes check, but I take. That should be perfectly fine for me. The other thing is after this and this, I could take with my rook to avoid any of those sorts of things. So if I take with my rook, what does he have there? I don't really think anything particularly troublesome. Is there anything else that I should be considering here though, other than this, which I think has to be best? How do I want to take back is probably the big question with the pawn or the rook. If I take with the pawn, it has the advantage of hitting the queen. Has the disadvantage of opening my king side up further, whereas taking with my rook leaves the king side a bit more shut, and it also means I can develop my next rook over and just own the f file. So I think that's going to be my move. And I think here I take like so. I don't think there's a need to do this. I do need to be very careful though, I don't ruin this nice streak by playing something that looks natural but maybe isn't. So having my rook here, is there any danger? Something like this that's not dangerous. It's not dangerous. I can play check at the very least and then move back, or I can simply move back straight away. Then he can play this. I can simply take. But then he might want to play this, but my rook is here to defend. So it'd be nice to actually have a rook here. So I can take, and then if he does this, I can just come back. My rook's here. I think there everything's good. I've got two rooks. Basically, I've got a lot of extra pieces. My king's fine. Why would I want to do this? I don't see a need to allow this. Even though because after check and he takes check, I take here, he would take this bishop. So it has to be taking with the rook. We're 44 in. Let's go. We are almost there. Now, this looks very promising because we're attacking the rook. And if he takes us, we take back, we've got a queen. And he can't move the rook anywhere except here. That's possible. He can move the rook here, but the problem is if he moves the rook there, we jump back, check, really now forcing the trade. We get this, he moves forward, we get a queen, we win. So we can do this safely, we're going to get a queen on the next move. 45 in, we are approaching here. We've got a very active king in an endgame position where we've got 1 pawn versus 2, 2 pawns versus 2, and 1 pawn versus 1. So we're a pawn down here. We're a pawn down, but we have an active king. How can we make the most of this scenario? Maybe we can play something like this. His king really can't move back this way because our king dominates him. So if we play this, these are all stuck. This is stuck. This is stuck, practically speaking. This is stuck. So if we play this, his only real move is this. But at that point in time, we bring the king here. And although he can start pushing this, we come here. He's going to have to move his king out the way at some point. We can take, he pushes down to here. We move our king out the way. He pushes again. We push. He pushes. We push. It's going to come with a check because he's had to move the king out the way of his pawn. So ours is going to come with check. And then when he moves, we'll be able to stop everything else. This is winning. Now, just make sure, I'm pretty sure at this point, this will be the answer. After this, this, yeah, that's fine. 46, we're almost there. Let's stay focused. We've been checked. The most natural idea here is, of course, to take back. If we move away, he's gonna simply take our rook. So I think here we're forced to take, he takes, we take. And then in the resulting position, our pawn is outside the square of his king, but can we win? I don't think we can actually win that. Take, take, take. He gets into our square. We can come along for the ride, but he starts pushing this down. We do this, he has to stay in the square. We can push. He comes here, we take this. And then he pushes down, we stay in this thing's square. No, we're missing the square. So this is looking really upsetting. You know, we're down 2 pawns. It looks like he's forcing a rook trade again. You can see what the options are. We can come here, here, or here. And at any of those moves, he takes this, and then obviously we're lost. So we can't do that. We have to take. It's completely forced to take. Okay, the question is what we do now. And I think the answer to that question is pretty clear. We have to push this immediately so that we create a pawn square that the king is outside of. You know, if we take time to take this pawn, he steps into the pawn square and therefore we'll win the game. But if we do this, then our king stays inside the square of all these different pawns. And although he can check us, we just need to be a little bit careful. Maybe we block the progress of this guy. He can make progress here, but we also make progress. He makes progress. We make progress. He makes progress. Interesting, isn't it? Maybe we come here. He makes very quick progress, but we come here. He gives a check, we take this. You know, that might even be better. Coming here, he does this while we come here. He does this. Again, we can come here. If he ever checks, we can take that. So we just need to be very careful here which way we go. They might look like they all win, but they probably don't all win. After this and this, and I push, if he does this, then my king is actually cut out. So I'm actually going to come here. You bastard. Should have thought about it slightly longer. So I can take, and then what? Let's say he pushes. I push. Hang on a minute. What did I just calculate? Oh, I mean, why didn't I just take the pawn? That's very, very interesting little bias, cognitive bias that I had. At this point, I pushed the pawn, and I mentally said to myself, oh, don't take this pawn. You have to push instead. But by the time the next move comes along, now I actually can take the pawn. Obviously, I'm still within the square of this pawn. So that's no issue. This is still an unstoppable pawn from here. He can give a check. I can take it and I'm still within the square. And if he pushes, I just take another step towards him, staying within the square. On the other hand, he can never get back in the square of this pawn. So unfortunately, This streak ends at 46. And you know what? Relatively good timing too. It's only been a 45-minute video. So, yep, came close. Once again, not quite there, but we're going to keep on training, and I guarantee you we're going to be hitting 50 by the time this chess championship at Canberra Chess Club comes up. And so thanks for watching. Keep clicking subscribe, put your comments down there. I'm very much enjoying the comments. Put in requests if you have any requests, and keep your eyes out for some more training games and more tactics coming soon. Cheers.